You've heard the stories from the travelers here at the podcast. You felt the rhythm of the Medina through your headphones. And now, I want to personally welcome you into the fray. I am hosting an exclusive small group Imperial Series tour for just 12 of our listeners. 8 days of deep culture, hidden gems, and the Morocco I know by heart. This isn't just a tour. It is a seat at our table. Space is very limited, so visit destinationsmorocco.com and book your spot today. Welcome back to another incredible episode of Destinations Morocco podcast. Again, in this episode we have Ted. Welcome back, Ted. It's always a pleasure to have you, and I love our chat. I love our talks, and I really treasure them. So Thanks, you tell the audience today what we have in stores for them, please?
Sure. Well, you were mentioning to me not too long ago, you get a lot of questions, of course, about costs and budget and stuff like that. And, well, we could take various approaches to that. Some people don't necessarily want to address costs right up front. Others do, well, tell me how much these things cost. And we thought, well, let's be direct about it. Let's try to give some hard numbers, or at least a range, so people get a sense of the value when you learn about how much certain things cost and then what you get for that price. And I mean, we can talk a bit about kind of comparisons, but I'm sure a lot of our listeners and viewers can make their own comparisons, to the things you're used to, whether it's accommodation, food, etc. So it kind of framed around the question of, well, what is a realistic per person per day budget range for travel in Morocco, not including flights, basically, once you're there and you got your accommodation, transport, food, and activities, those are kind of the four big ones. So, yeah, I mean, that's a big question, but there's lots we can pick apart here. So where do you want to start?
That's a really good question. So the price really changes depending on the accommodations. That's what really can make a tour affordable, if you would, to a lot of people, or very expensive to others. So if you look at the places that you're going to visit, they're all going to be the same. If you look at the entrance fees that you're going to be paying, they're all going to be the same. Those are the constant. They don't really change. And the way that we do the tours, basically everything is taken care for you. From the moment you get to Morocco, transportation is included, breakfast is included. If you do in the southern part of Morocco, your dinner is included because there's nowhere else for you to go to have dinner. Sometimes we do local guides, depending on how many people are traveling. When we have a small group, maybe 5, maybe 6, we definitely recommend a national tour guide, so that travels with you throughout the tour. So those are really going to be the constant cost, if you would, and everybody literally charges the same. Then when you look at the itinerary, for example, 8-day, 10-day, and day by day, the cost of the accommodation can make a big difference. Staying somewhere where it costs around $100 versus staying somewhere where it costs, $500. That's really what makes an itinerary affordable versus premium versus expensive, or luxury, if you would, Ted.
Right. Yeah. Well, I suppose it comes down to what people are looking for, but, we always talk about on the show the value and the experience of staying in Riads.
Yes.
And the irony, in a sense, is that, you don't have to pay $500 a night at a certain luxury hotel brand or something like that. You can pay a lot less than that and stay at a beautiful Riad, which is small and intimate and, fairly private. There's usually 4 or 5 rooms kind of thing. And, it feels like you're staying in someone's home. That's kind of the whole point. And it's amazing value. And there's meals there too. And often like a rooftop patio or the courtyard or a pool, all these kinds of things. So it's not necessarily based around just like cost itself. But I mean, I guess it depends where you stay. But what would be kind of an average price of a nice Riad in a place like Marrakesh?
In a place, I would say between 100 to 100 is a nice range. And again, we talked about this many times in the past episodes and even just regular conversations, you and me. There is no system in Morocco. And this is part of the system that it does not exist in Morocco. And, for us locals, it's good because we know how to take advantage of it. But to the Westerners, to the foreigners, to the tourists, because there's no system, it's kind of difficult for them to relate to it. And I'll give you an example. We're talking about a Riyadh, just the way that you have described it, really nice, beautiful, versus going, for example, to a brand name a hotel like the Four Seasons, St. Regis, those expensive brands. To them, anything you need extra, it's going to cost you. Versus the Riads, we have a relationship with them. We've been working together for a long time. A lot of that stuff doesn't cost you an additional thing. So let's say, for example, a breakfast, and if you need more food, they'll get you more food. Let's say we have a dinner for you at the Riyadh. You can eat. If you need more food, they'll get you more food. Most likely it's not going to be an additional cost. So, and again, it's very affordable because we know those suppliers or the Riads that we work with. They'll take care of you just like you're part of the family, literally. And that's the benefit for us. It's the relationship that we have with them. So, and this goes the same way, Ted. I've had this many, many times. Hey, I need to know where I'm staying, for example, in Rabat or Casablanca and stuff. And when I give them, I give them a link and say, hey, this Riyadh, doesn't have good reviews or doesn't even have good website. You have to understand, because there's no system, it's just part of it. A lot of those places, they don't even have their own website. The reason because they're working with Expedia, they're working with Booking.com, they're working with other OTAs, and they're getting enough business out of those platforms. And just like you said, Ted, they have 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 or 9 rooms. They will get filled quickly. They don't need to spend that money to build that website. To us, it doesn't look good because they look to us like they are cheap. They're not even investing in their own business. But to them, it's like, hey, that's an extra cost that I'm good. I don't need the website. I don't need social media. This is so funny because I remember about 3 years ago, we had a Jewish tour, and one of the restaurants that everybody recommends in Morocco, and I'm trying to look at it, and they don't even have a really good website. And that place, to book it, you need a couple of weeks, probably months to have a reservation because it is super popular. So that's the mentality that a lot of people still have in Morocco. I don't need a website. I'm working with so-and-so. All those OTAs, I get enough booking from them.
Yeah.
So, and again, it's just because there's no system. So those are the things to take in consideration, pay attention to when you're trying to book something in Morocco.
Yeah, and by system, as much as anything, you mean like there's no kind of networks or chains or franchises or that kind of thing. Like, do you know of any Riads maybe where they have different branches, right, in different cities under the same kind of company? Does that exist?
They do exist, yes. They're very, not a lot of them, but also one thing that I have seen, there's a lot of brands nowadays, international brands, like the Marriott hotels, for example. They're everywhere, literally in Morocco. And they look different than the US. They have done a really good job, in terms of integration with the locals, with the culture especially. But they also invest in Riads. They have their own Riads because they realize the importance of having a Riyadh added to your accommodation, to your hotel, because some people, they want to stay at a familiar name, familiar hotel like the Marriott, and some they just say, hey, I feel comfortable. I work with the Marriott. I travel. I stay with them throughout, and I'm happy to hear that they have a Riyadh that I can book and stay.
So, are you saying like they've bought Riads that are off property, or they've built Riads on their property if they had space?
Some are on property, some off property, and they are part of the hotel. Yes.
Okay, well, that's interesting. So, would you say those are authentic Riads, or
yeah, they're really good.
Okay.
Yes, they're really, really good. Yes,
because they don't stem from like the old family home type.
Yes, they're different in that regards. Yes, they're different. Yes,
right. But it is that same kind of more intimate, private, and different. You're not staying in a hotel room, walking down a hallway kind of thing. You're very much staying. It feels like someone's home.
Absolutely. Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Yeah. So I mean, if we can only rely so much on kind of internet and Google reviews and all that kind of stuff, I mean, where do people go to decide, where to book and how to determine they're gonna get the value for a particular Riad, right?
It's if it's a B2C, if you're booking on your own, traveling on your own, just make sure you do your homework. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of people relying on Google, ChatGPT, and AI, and a lot of their information is really, really not accurate. I see others relying on OTAs, those online travel agencies, and this is quite a bit of risk into it as well. If you're a travel advisor, select a tour operator to work with. That's your best option, because it is very important to trust somebody and work with somebody locally, because it does make a big difference. And the OTA, it's a major headache, especially for the B2B. And I see a lot of travel advisors, they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. And what I mean by themselves, what they're putting their clients actually into. So there's a lot of risks that is involved. And
well, that's another question. It's a bit off topic, but about accreditation for travel companies like yourselves, or these online travel agents. Like, is there any kind of licensing accreditation system that exists for them?
Just to give this really needs honestly an episode by itself, but
we'll make a note of that,
just to give you an idea, an OTA, for example, Expedia, for example, Booking, Get Your Guide. I'm just naming names. Hopefully I won't get in trouble, but in general, the OTAs, it's an online platform. Something happens in destination, you cannot talk to anyone. You cannot call somebody at 3 a.m, they'll answer. They're not. You're on your own. When you work with other OTAs, for example, you don't have access to the company that it's going to be working with you. If you need to make some changes, they don't give you that information ahead of time. You don't know it until the tour gets really close. So the agents, when you're working with an OTA, I promise you, that's again, because Morocco doesn't have any system, 95%, yes, I said 95% of those companies that you see, just Google OTA, whatever, you'll see them, they're not authorized. You go to Merzouga, somebody, they have a camel, they call themselves a travel agency. They have a website, they have a Facebook page or a Facebook whatever, and now they're a travel agency. Just to give you, to be a travel agency in Morocco, it is the equivalent of becoming a doctor anywhere else. It is, trust me, it is super difficult. So that's why when I see somebody working with OTAs in Morocco and say, hey, I found this tour cheaper with this guy in Morocco. Okay, good luck, because you don't know what's going on. I'm not there to tell you, hey, and educate you. That's your decision. I respect it, disagree with it. And that's my personal opinion. So there's a lot of gray areas when it comes to the OTAs. It's very risky.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I understand if you're wary about going to Morocco by yourself. There's a lot to figure out. And it is a country that's not yet as familiar as those in Europe. But if the only option is a massive group tour, how enjoyable is that? This November, from the 8th to the 15th, I'm doing something different. I am personally leading an intimate group of people throughout the imperial cities at a price of just $19.95 per person. As a native of Marrakesh, I want to show you the Morocco I love, the hidden spot, the private artisan workshops, and the quiet Riads that big tour buses can even reach. The catch? There are only 12 spots total. Reserve your spot right now at destinationsmorocco.com and join like-minded travelers just like yourself.
You mentioned Merzouga there. It reminds me of staying in the desert. So coming back to pricing, when it's staying in the desert, is there much difference between the desert camps as far as prices and, I guess the levels of stars and accommodation between camps?
Okay. When you look at Merzouga, for example, at some point, all the camps, or I would say probably 90% of them, did not really have air conditioning, because they believe they want you to have the local experience, that immersive experience, part of the culture. But to us, Westerners, it's just too hot. I want to feel comfortable, but I still want to feel, be in the sand, do the camera ride and all that stuff. So for quite some time, there was the conflict. The locals or the owners of those camps, they didn't have an air conditioning installed just because of that. It's not, they didn't want to, but even the one that we stayed in some time ago did not have air conditioning. And that was one of my biggest concerns, because we were there in July. And it was pretty hot. So now they have air conditioning, and it makes a huge difference. So when you look at Merzouga, for example, at the camps, no camps are created equal. A lot of the camps, I would say the majority, or probably half of them, are small. they cannot accommodate 30 people, 40 people, for example. But there are camps next to each other, which the group can be split. If it's a group, if it's
I see.
5, 6, 8, 10 people, it's not a big deal. So when you look at the camps, this is the bare minimum. When you look at them, they look like they are black tents. They're just not really well built, if you would. There's no shower inside. Everything is shared. Everything is outside. You just go inside and sleep. They don't have any air conditioning. Breakfast will always be included. Dinner will be included in any camp. So regardless wherever you're staying, breakfast and dinner will be included. But that's the lowest level of camps in Merzouga. Then you go, they call them premium, which you'll have your own private shower, private water, and all that stuff in camp. And it is private. It's not shared with anyone. Some will have air conditioning, some may not have air conditioning. Then you go to the luxury, which will have the bells and whistles, and it's nice beds, big. It's really, really, really nice, and you can feel the difference in all those camps. Now, when you said, Ted, when it comes to price, it really depends on the season. I've seen places where you can stay for $50 a night to places where you can, $500 a night to $600 a night, depending on availability. Now, we are in 2026, and I know last year was busy. It was crazy busy, and it's going to stay that way. It's going to stay consistently busy in Morocco.
What's the high season for desert camps then? Is there any particular period?
The hot season, it is definitely spring, which is March, April, and May. June is still good. It's still going to be a little bit hot, but July and August they are really painful unless you have no other time to go. Yeah. And then I would say November and the first 2 weeks of December, they get really cool. The second week of December, it gets very, very cold. Last year when we went, it was unseasonably cold. So it was 0 degrees. It was below 0 degrees in the mountains. So it was very, very cold. So first 2 weeks of December are okay.
Yeah, okay. So people will see prices reflecting that, like if you're wondering when high season is and so on, or low season in turn, then that's how you would frame it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you're traveling spring of next year, this is the right time to book. Not just Merzouga, anywhere in Morocco, because those bookings, they really go by quick. So just plan ahead of time.
Let's talk a bit more about food, because with a typical tour, I mean, a lot of meals can be included, but sometimes you're on your own for a lunch or a dinner here and there, whatever it is. So is there an average price? I mean, you go to kind of a typical local standard restaurant, not like a food stall or something, but a sit-down restaurant with a menu. Like, how much would that cost?
A sit-down restaurant, a local restaurant, it should cost you an average $25 with no alcoholic beverages, if you would. So that's the average, $25 for lunch. Now, dinner, for example, it just depends on what you're going to have. If it's just a regular dinner, again, it could be around maybe $30, $40. If you're going to have an experience, for example, dinner and a show, and again, depending on the city, if you're doing it in Merzouga, Merzouga is included. If you're going to do it in Agafay, in the outskirts of Marrakesh, it's different. If you're going to do it in Fes, Marrakesh, or at a restaurant, a local restaurant, dinner and a show, it's probably going to cost, I would say, somewhere around maybe $80, $85 per person. And again, alcoholic beverages are not included in the price. But that's the range that you need to look at. So some places might be cheaper than others, but that's the average. So,
okay. I want to try to address with our conversation here that's like the impressions of cost, in Morocco, and for people who've traveled to, I guess, places like Thailand or Central America and places, and things can be pretty cheap in a good way. Like, it's good food and everything, but it's just the nature of the economy, right? Like, things are much more affordable there. And so perhaps people have that impression of Morocco. Now, you're giving us prices here that reflect, we're clearly not talking, nice accommodation that's $40 a night. Like, you'd be $150, $200 a night type of thing. But not necessarily as expensive as a lot of places in Europe or, I guess, the States and so on. So what about activities? Like, I don't know if you know offhand, but if you did something like maybe a hot air balloon ride, how much might that cost?
Yeah, the hot air balloon, it has gotten so popular, and it's getting a little bit more pricey. The hot air balloon, most of the time it used to be done in Marrakesh. Now you can do it in few different locations, places in Morocco. You can do it in Marrakesh, obviously. You can do it in Dad's Valley, towards the southern part of Morocco, when you're doing the southern or the desert tour. So, but just to give the audience an idea how it works, basically, the hot air balloon is a completely different company. So they'll come to you and pick you up from your Riyadh, wherever you're staying. They'll take you. The location it's in the outskirts of Marrakesh a little bit.
Yeah.
If you would, then the Medina. They'll serve you breakfast. Then you'll go on. They show you a little bit of training. Then you'll go on the ride. The ride normally takes about an hour. This is all before the sun comes up, so you can see that on while you're on the ride. And then when you're done, they drive you back to the Riyadh or your accommodation. So transportation, round trip is included, breakfast is included, then the experience is included. And it's done off-site of Marrakesh. All the hot air balloon companies, that's what they gather. It's one area for everybody. Just the same, if you would, in Merzouga, where they gather all the camels in one area, then everybody goes their separate ways. So the hot air balloon per person, it really depends, but it could be between $200 per person to $300 per person.
Okay.
So, and before, when you make an arrangement, this one can be done prior to your tour, or we can build it into your itinerary, for example.
Yeah.
And they will reach out to you a day before, that evening before, and say, hey, Ted, I just want to confirm that tomorrow you have a hot air balloon experience. It's going to be 4 of you, for example, and we're going to be picking you up at 5:45 in the morning, or 6 in the morning, or 5.
Okay.
So they'll set everything. You'll get a call, you'll get a text, so everything is confirmed with you, and they pick you up and drop you off. So the good thing about the hot air balloon, it really does not really interfere with everything that you have planned during the day. So everything is done early. By 8 o'clock or so, you're back at your Riyadh and you're good to go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a lot included for the price, and it's a good price. I think people would expect that for an activity like that.
Absolutely.
The other popular one is a hammam and the spa.
Yes. Yes.
Whether it's an afternoon, maybe, let's say, I guess 3 or 4 hours. Like, how much might that cost?
The cost really varies. I've seen some, depending on packages. Normally, anywhere you go, they'll have 3 different packages. The royal package, I call it the most expensive, and I think that's a similar name anywhere they go. And I've seen it going between $100 to $250 to $450, depending on where you're going to have the experience. For example, the hammam experience done. So the massage has its own package. The hammam has its own package. Each experience will last 45 minutes. There's a little bit of a break in between the two. They'll serve you, Moroccan pastries, Moroccan mint tea. Then there's a little bit of a recovery room after you finish with the experience. Then we'll pick you up afterwards. So we always recommend it in the afternoon, especially sometimes in the middle of the tour if you're having 10-day or 12-day, because you will absolutely get tired. A lot of people are really excited, but they don't realize they're going to get tired at some point. And the massage and hammam goes really well with, either cooking class in the morning or some activities, light activities at night, dinner and a show, for example, goes really well with it as well.
Okay. Does the hammam ever last like a full day thing? Is it really?
No, it's not a full day.
Right?
It's the hammam experience will last about 45 minutes. So you'll get picked up from the Riads. You'll be taken to the hammam or spa area. So that whole experience should be about 2.5 to 3 hours. All of it. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because that's, helps people frame, well, like you say, the hot air balloon, what else you can do in the same day.
Absolutely.
Bearing in mind that you will be a little zonked out after. But it's worth it. The last thing I want to ask you about here is the famous tipping. So,
yes.
Now, granted, of course, when you're on a tour, your guide should be prepared for that, i.e. have the change, also know who to tip, how much to tip, and really guide you in that way. But often us, of course, as travelers on a tour, we want to be able to do it ourselves, obviously add some extra or just have that kind of independence, So can you give us a sense of some of the prices that people are tipped, whether it's for luggage or drivers or waiters or anything else, And the second part is, how do people get the change that you need to tip?
That's a really good question. We have a cheat sheet, if you would, and I sent it to people when they request it. This one, we have it as if there are two people traveling. Then it's different when you have a group of people that are traveling. So first of all, when you get to Morocco and we pick you up, there's a lot of the times you need to get money exchange. I don't recommend it doing whether it's in the US, Canada, New Zealand, anywhere else. Just wait until you get to Morocco, because that's what we're there for. We pick you up and we help you get actually better exchange rate for you, because we know the places to take you, whether it's in Casablanca, Fez, Marrakesh, and so forth. If you need to get something like for your, outlet, something like this, this is really, it goes a long way. This costs about $1 to $2. And I always have extra. If you need some, just let me know. I'll send them to you. Or when we have a group of tour, we always buy extra and just give it to the travelers when they need it. So it's very important to get the best value for your money, because it adds up. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I totally forgot the second part of the question.
How much do you tip people for various?
Yes, the tipping part. For example, when let's say you have 8 people and then above 8 people, I would say for breakfast, for lunch and dinner, it should be the same. $2. It's more than enough because it adds up. $2 person. That's with 8. That's really, really generous. Housekeeping, I would say the same thing. Probably when you're staying, maybe $5. That's really good. Then the luggage handlers, and it's very important to know how much to tip depending on the luggage that you have. But I think $5 is more than enough for a couple, even for luggage. When you have a group, this is very tricky. When you have a group, it's really, really important for the group. It's let's say you're traveling with a travel advisor, and that's their group. You have to communicate to them and say, hey, the luggage that you have is okay, or the luggage is too much, or it's a lot of, so they know how to tip accordingly. And then also what we do, we're there with you, we're watching. If we see the body language of the people that are helping you, we can tell whether they are happy with the tip or not happy with the tip, because the thing that we don't want anybody to have is, somebody not wanting to help us with the luggage. So it's really, really, really important. I cannot really put a price to it because sometimes it's depending on the group size. But again, if we see that you don't, you didn't tip well, or didn't have enough cash, then we step in and we take care of it. And the same thing. Sometimes people, they just forget. And if we see that you have forgotten, or somebody comes and say, hey, your client forgot to tip or this, then we just tip them accordingly, and we just leave it at that. So we don't go and ask and say, hey, you forgot. No, we don't. So those are the things that we do for everybody, and it's expected from us. So when you have your national guide, tour guide, that's what they pay attention to. Then you have your driver with you at all times. Those are the small details that they pay attention to. The reason why, because that national tour guide is going to work with somebody else, and they're going to go back to that same hotel or Riyadh, and they're going to see those guys again. And we don't want them to have, that conflict or relationship and stuff like that. The same thing with the drivers. So it's very important for us to make sure that everybody's taken care of.
Now, how about if you're on, let's say a small group tour, not necessarily a private tour, but maybe, there's 6 or 8 of you. Let's say 6 people, and you all fit into one van, and you have a national guide who's with you the whole time. Let's say probably 10 days. So at the end of the tour, how much should each person tip their guide for that whole 10-day excursion?
Say when you're working with local guides, you tip the local guide at the end of their experience with their, when they're done showing you the city, the attraction and stuff like that. When it comes to the national guide, which is similar to the tour leader and the driver, you tip them at the end of the tour. Not every day, but you just keep it until the end of the tour. So for 10 days, I would say probably around maybe 600 for the national guide, 500 for the driver, but here's the other thing that when we talked earlier about the system, this is how the system is in Morocco. So when you have a national guide, tour guide, they have their base price. Then the tip is something extra. If you feel that they have gone above and beyond, then you tip them extra. And that's everything we're saying is just a recommendation. It's a suggestion. Okay. Then the same thing for the local for the drivers. The drivers, they all have a base price. Whether they do a tour in a month or 10, they get paid the same. The difference is they live off that tip. So when they go with you, they're really expecting the tip at the end of the tour. So that's why they're willing to do things and accommodate and go above and beyond and stuff like that. So there's a base price just for the, whether you're a travel agent, whether you're just just a regular client who's gonna travel. So those are the things to take in consideration. Everybody has a base price that they get paid. Then the tip is really, really extra. But then again, it shows you supporting him or her and their families and stuff like that. So tipping in Morocco. It used to be taboo, but now it's really, really accepted.
I see.
So it's very welcomed. So
okay, good. Well, that frames some things then for sure. We've talked about accommodation and food, activities, tipping. Yeah. So, I mean, it helps. The goal here is so the people aren't totally in the dark about what to expect, especially extra costs and unexpected things. So. Yeah, I think that gets some of that information out there. And
absolutely.
Helps people to calculate.
Absolutely, yes. And also, we talk about the food tours, we talk about the cooking classes, and those are, again, a cooking class is a cooking class. But what makes it different is what's included in that cooking class, and also where it has been done and held. We can do it in the desert, where everything is organic. You pick the vegetables, you pick the meat, everything is it's right there. Then we can do it at a private farm outside Marrakesh. And again, in that experience, you have options. You can do it with other people, so they put everybody in one room, or you can it has a different price. Then you can have it just you, for example. If it's just 2 of you, 4 of you, or a family, or a small group, you'll have that private small group, and you'll have the chef doing everything, helping you throughout the whole process. And again, everything you have is at the farm. It's right there. So, or you can have it at a Riad. And again, the Riad is a different experience. You can go to the market and pick up the vegetables, pick up everything that you're going to have for that cooking class. Or you can have the Riad pick everything for you. You just come in, you prepare, and you get it done. Those all have different prices. They can be, from $100 per person to probably $250, $300 a person. And again, the difference is in the details. So everything really has different prices, if you would, Ted. So, but when you look at an itinerary as a whole, you add a little bit here, and it's 6 people that are going for 10 days. It really, really adds up. Now it's not just $100. It's quite a bit of money. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's just it. So, we don't want people to be surprised, I guess, when it comes down to it. And, as part of your budget planning in general, I mean, I've certainly learned this. I'm sure you have too, that when you're planning travel, whatever it may be, like, you got to leave that cushion, right, for extra things, unexpected things. And, it just helps to frame so you know what to expect.
Absolutely. And I just want to talk about budget, if you would please, Ted. For the B2B part, it's very important for travel advisors to know their client's budget, and most of them know. Sometimes the client, they say, oh, I don't know, I don't have a budget, I'm just, looking and all that stuff. And then when you have the B2C, somebody comes up to me and we're talking about, planning their vacation. Yes, I do get that person, oh, I have no idea how much it's going to cost, or I don't really know, I don't have a budget. So the majority of people, when they say, I don't have a budget, probably they are not going to go with you.
Right.
Because Morocco is not cheap. It is expensive. Especially when you look at Marrakesh, you look at Tangier, for example. I've been to London. Marrakesh is more expensive than London.
Really?
And we talk, I promise you, Ted. We look at Morocco. Last couple of years, it's been the number 1 destination in Africa.
Yeah.
You know, between Morocco and Egypt, it's about 40 million. That's half of, you know, the people that visited Africa, half of them went to Morocco and Egypt. And those numbers are only going to get bigger. And what that did to Marrakesh, it made it more expensive today. You know, just to give you, when we look at the numbers today, you know, almost July 2026 comparing to pre-pandemic, the numbers have gone up an average of 35%. And
Now you're talking like the cost of living or cost of travel?
Cost of travel.
Yeah.
So the tours that used to be able to book, for example, with $2,500, today just added an additional $3,500. The same tour, the same everything. We talked previously on the accommodations, they go up every year between 8 to 12%. Transportation, the same. Gas prices, look at them. Now they're coming down a little bit, which is good. So all those things, they have to be factored into the experience, into the itinerary, into your bill. So it really, really adds up. Morocco, again, it's not cheap. It's not a cheap location. This is not even including air travel, Ted. So, yeah.
But we still want people to go.
100%, yes.
Well, I mean, the prices are what they are. It's nothing that you and I control. It's
for sure,
it's obviously the economy, and you could argue that as the country gets even more popular and more tourists, that diversifies things. So you may have. I know one issue we talked about a bit over the years is just the capacity. There hasn't been a lot of capacity available, right? Especially for accommodation, because they need to build more hotels. Maybe some Riads are kind of modern Riad alternatives, right? But like the space hasn't been there. So the more things diversify and evolve over time, well, that means there's more choice and it gives you some more different levels of affordability.
Yeah.
But yeah, it all comes down to knowing what to expect at this point.
Yeah. I mean, the accommodations are being built as we speak. You know, last time I was there, I've seen construction throughout, you know, Casablanca, Marrakesh, Fez. I mean, it's really changing at a very, very fast pace that I have not really seen in decades in Morocco. So the investments are there. You know, things are being built. Yes, for big companies, big corporations, to get ready for those big events.
Good. Well, we'll leave it at that. That's good. Good overview. Yeah, I'm glad we talked about that.
Thank you.
So we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you listening. Have a wonderful day.
Cheers.